Welcome to Money on Tap. Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do on this show. We look at all sides of the issues, and we bring a fully independent planning perspective to the table.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. My name is Seth Krussman, joined here once again by Ben Brayshaw and Dan Mickelin. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing really good.
Yeah,
actually.
Same here.
Yeah.
How about you, Seth? How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, we're starting to talk about springtime stuff. And you know what's included in springtime stuff around our house? Taxes. Yeah.
I'm one of those late filers, too.
I'm a fall tax filer. I want to ruin spring.
Well, there are miracles, Ben. Jesus rose from the dead in the spring, so maybe the taxes get filed on time in the Brayshaw Financial House this year too.
No, I don't want to muddy the waters with that.
Separation of church and state.
Amen. Right. That's exactly the first time I've ever agreed with that phrase.
Folks, we're so glad to have you aboard with us today, and we're going to have some fun here. It's time to connect the dots. We're talking about tax time, and we have a special guest with us today, Cameron Clark, CPA. Cameron is a part of the Brayshaw Financial Group extended family, let's say, right? You can find Cameron on our website. He's a CPA. He's a tax planner, which is a really unique area for what we do as financial planners, and we love an opportunity to get him on the show and answer some questions for you guys today. Gosh, it's going to be fun. And if you're not familiar with what we're doing here today at Money on Tap, we're all financial planners. Maybe you are as well. We don't know, but maybe. And what we do is we talk about three-dimensional planning. As financial planners, we want to make sure that we're bringing all sides of the issues around our finances together. Hence, we're going to have a CPA on with us today talking about one of the significant things that you can do to really enhance and empower yourself to be everything that you want to inside of your finances. Get that plan together. And sometimes doing this work is really throwing some lighter fluid on what people have thought they could do historically.
Seth, one thing about having Cameron on, I'm excited he'll be joining us here in a minute, but and this isn't an offense to anybody who is a CPA who might be listening, but there's not a lot of CPAs who do planning as much as they just do tax work. And it's not a thing where they focus on sitting down with people on a regular basis and planning through a strategic tax initiative with a financial planner. And that's the one thing that makes Cameron, uniquely different. And I like that about him, and find it, a valuable resource to work with. And I was actually talking with a CPA who we work with in a nonprofit. He's like, for all these years, I was always racing around from filing one set of taxes to another. He's like, and I file stuff, but now I see what some of this stuff is on the other end as I work with a nonprofit he's part of. And he's like, it's just a really very interesting perspective to see that side. So not every CPA gets that portion of it in there. They don't get that purview. And then some CPAs just don't work in that space. And that's okay. Everybody's got to file taxes. That's just part of the rigmarole, but I'm excited with Cameron, so this will be good for everybody.
All right. Well, without further ado, it is time for Money in the News.
And first up, we got coming to us from The Hustle. This is authored by Mark Dent. Why athletes and some remote workers owe jock tax wherever they go. And I thought this was kind of an interesting article as we're on the topic of taxes. And I'd heard about this a few years ago. And actually, old friend Derek Jeter brought this to my attention. He was,
a friend of mine, yes. I might say.
So he had an ongoing dispute with the state of New York because he lived in Florida, which had no state income tax, but played for the Yankees, which obviously are in New York and had a outrageous, city tax and state income tax. So his dispute was, well, I'm a Florida resident, therefore not subject to New York taxes, and I think they sued and countersued, and in the end of it, what it came to be is the states determined that he'd be taxed upon where you earn your wages, right? So he plays for the Yankees in New York, But it didn't even end there. So he was taxable in New York and at city and state levels. But come to find out, he's taxable in each and every state in which he plays a ball game in. So they had to divide his salary over 162 games and figure out where each of these took place. And as an athlete, he owed state income taxes based upon each and every stadium he played in.
Telling you, New Hampshire needs to get a baseball team. Yeah. Move their socks right up here.
So pretty complicated. If you think about doing this guy's tax returns, right, or any of these athletes, and they call it the jock tax because these are people who very publicly make enormous livings in many different states all in the same year. But what the article is making reference to is kind of a new trend, which is the remote worker, right? Yeah. Are you going down to Florida or an Airbnb to get away from the snow and punching in a month's worth of work down there? If so, you better do it quietly, or you may go, well, actually, Florida wouldn't matter. No, it's no tax-free. But some other southern sunny state.
Wisely.
Yeah. So some other state with the state income tax, you might have an obligation there.
Yeah. Don't choose New York. Either way, don't choose. No, I think the thing is interesting about this, and I don't know how true this is now, but I remember hearing, and this is like basketball players would leave before midnight and fly home. And they'd be airborne, so that depending on where you made your money, but also like how much time you were in the state, so they would.
Interesting.
So people were like jumping these planes and getting out of town, so they wouldn't have to pay taxes, depending on the state. Now I don't know if that was every state or if that's changed since, but that was I remember a big issue.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't remember hearing that part, but yeah. It just having worked in taxes and understanding what that process looks like for people. Imagine trying to file, what are you playing? 30 different states in a season. 30 different state income tax returns. Just absolutely mind-boggling.
Well, they're not getting refunds, so I don't think it's that.
No. But they're paying the CPAs well.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Yeah. You know what? I just realized that we're also going to bring another one here by Mark Dent, which is from the Hustle. Mark, thank you for giving us so much love here at Money on Tap today. Title here is that Americans want revenge on companies for bad service. Per the Wall Street Journal National Consumer Rage Survey indicates more people are miffed off. I think there's a typo there. It should say miffed off at companies. New results show 74% of consumers had a problem with a company product or service in the past year, up from 66% in 2020, 56% in 2017, and 32% in 1976, the first time a similar survey was released. So, folks, you apparently are finding your voice, or you're just finding some horrible service out there. I
like this information because, somebody always told me, never buy a company you don't want to own, or you don't want to own their product, or their service, essentially. And so, some of these companies out there, their service is their product, and that's really hard. But, it's interesting to me is like these robocalls. You want to complain, you want service, you want help, and you've got to go through this entire long computer system that doesn't understand anything. Maybe you have an accent, or maybe you have a lisp, or I don't know. I think I speak normal American. It has a problem with my voice.
It's totally off topic, but my wife Andrea's got an Eastern European accent, and she cannot talk to Siri, Alexa, any of those things. Do not understand her, and there's a lot of rage involved in that. I can tell.
Dan, do you understand her?
Well enough, I guess. But one of the things that right out of the article, which I found hilarious, is Rage Survey respondents said they raised their voices when talking to robots, like 35% of the time back in 2017, which, that's one of the few things in this article I've personally been able to avoid because I realize I'm talking to a robot and my yelling isn't going to change the conversation. But, I have seen it happen, and it's quite funny. I do enjoy what's
I'm going to admit I've lost my cool with a robot.
I don't know about raising my voice, but raise my blood pressure.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
I love the the delayed hello one to get those calls.
Oh my gosh,
that is so darn annoying. Yeah, that one gets me every time. Please have the courtesy. Let's just get to it.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Best Buy will set up in-home hospital care through a new deal with Atrium Health. Well, this is a Repco. Thank you very much, CNBC, for bringing us this article. So, yeah, Best Buy has struck a deal to sell devices and handle installation for a program that allows patients to get hospital care at home. Basically, they're going to be expanding into the healthcare business as sales and consumer electronics are kind of slowing down for them post-COVID. And this is their new venture to basically, put that in-home healthcare in practice for you guys.
This is not the first engagement that Best Buy has made in the healthcare space. And the article brings that to the forefront. It says, over the past 5 years, Best Buy has acquired 3 healthcare companies, Great Call, Critical Signal Technologies, and Current Health. And these are all tech-based devices that, help with some sort of in-home care or phone system or, like how it communicates with the care facilities. Truly very innovative, I think. Honestly, this is, Dan, you actually found this article, which is fantastic. And it just brings to clarity how, a company like Best Buy, like what are they doing? How do these companies innovate outside their domain? But the truth is we all know that, the older generation needs more help with technology than just, between getting support on fixing their computers, their cell phones. Like I go into Best Buy and from time to time, and I see older people standing there at is it the Geek Squad? Is that what it is? Getting help with their technology stuff. It only makes sense for them to engage the older community on a much broader level. And what's truly amazing with this whole thing is I just couldn't believe the numbers, but Atrium Health has served over 6,300 patients. I mean, that's a lot of people that they're going to be providing a lot of different healthcare services to alone in that space.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it a number of times when generally it's part of a long-term care conversation or insurance product conversation where, the simple fact is that these facilities charge astronomical fees to care for people as they're aging and getting into kind of severe conditions, but they're running out of beds and they're not making enough of them to, really satisfy the quantity of care providers we're going to need down the road. So this whole idea of home health care, I think, is just going to be an explosively growing marketplace. But this kind of entry of Best Buy into it, I never thought of that. It's an interesting twist.
It really is. And I think, as we think about the aging population, and, we talk about it all the time, 40 million Americans are retired, 80 million more coming. That's 120 million Americans out of 320, right? That's almost 40% of America. There's not enough beds in this country to care for everybody all at once, right? I mean, it's not even, so home health care is the wave of the future. And we're seeing care facility organizations that, prepare for that. I mean, I'm thinking about the place that's in the building next door to us. They provide additional care support at home, and there's just so much to it. And even long-term care insurance is focusing on providing care in the home because they know that's where the care is going to be directed, and it's the least expensive. I think Best Buy is on the verge of something big, and I think they're really knocking down some doors here that are going to have some serious weight in the future.
And this is the front end of a trend. I really think so.
This is not a recommendation to buy Best Buy. I don't know what the stock price is today, and I don't know how this is already priced into it, but it's an interesting thing, and I think it's worth bringing back on the show as time goes on to see where Best Buy's at, honestly.
Here's what I have to say about that. And this is the other side of the coin, folks. I really hope that they do a better job installing hospital equipment than they did my car stereo. I still have a couple of knobs out of place. It's such a trigger for me. I haven't gone back to get it fixed. And, as my daughter would say, Dad, don't sell them out the back of the bus.
Yeah.
I think she got that confused with throwing them under the bus and selling them down the river somehow. But anyways, that's what I'm going to stick with today. That's what's going to do it for us in Money in the News. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's tax time. Let's connect the dots with Cameron Clark. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. While you're at it, radio listeners, we're a podcast as well. Go to whatever your podcast venue is. Is it iTunes or Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio? Go grab a couple episodes of Money on Tap as you're doing some spring breaking and brushing up on your financial acumen. Just add us to your playlist, and we appreciate the downloads, the subscriptions, and the likes and the listens, all that stuff. Hey, we're here for you. We want to elevate the conversation in the room. Bring it up a notch, folks, and add this to your list of to-dos this week. We can't wait to come back here in just a couple minutes. You're listening to Money on Tap.
Folks, we have a lot of fun doing this show, Money on Tap, and Ben and I have been financial planners for years and years, and our goal here with you is to bring you into the room, have the conversations that we have. We think these are critical conversations for you, but we understand this is a limited space. And what we'd love to do is to open the doors to you with us at Brayshaw Financial Group so you could experience what it means to have three-dimensional planning in your life. Let's take a look at all sides of your situation, your scenario, and see how we can put together the best plan possible, taking into account your risk. How much can you have in the market? How much do we need to have set aside and doing different things for your life? That's what we do as planners, how we engage with you, and we welcome you to do that with us. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Now, if you have $250,000 that are investable assets today, our planning is free to you. We want you to have the playbook to have a successful experience in retirement. Give us a call, 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Ben and I welcome you to Brayshaw Financial for complete wealth management.
We appreciate you listening to Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan. You can contact us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And now, more of this week's program.
Welcome back. You are listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap. Want to take a quick moment to let you know, if you're listening to us via radio, you can find us out there in the podcast world. If it's Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio, Spreaker, you name it, we're out there. Search Money on Tap, and we just want to thank you for the downloads, the follows, the listens, and also if you've taken the challenge this last couple of shows, we've asked you to, while you're out on a hike, walk, run, gym, whatever you're doing, driving, grab a couple extra episodes that are of interest to you, and really start to elevate your conversation and your education. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? We're going to push the envelope a little bit. We want to do that. We want to expand our knowledge and our understanding, and we want to go ahead and take that dinner table conversation you're having to the next level. So with all of that, it's time for us to get into it here at Money on Tap. Really excited to talk about or spend some time with Cameron Clark, CPA, a strategic relationship that we have here at Brayshaw Financial Group. We bring that to you to benefit you, right? To make it easy for you. Go to our website at Brayshaw Financial Group or yourmoneyontap.com. You'll see Cameron there. You can connect with Cameron. He's a CPA. And not only is he a CPA, he really focuses on the planning side of taxes. And this is not something that's all that common inside of the CPA world or the tax advisor world. Just many reasons for that, but it is one that we really are grateful that we have the ability to bring to the table with you here today. So what's today's show? It's tax time, and let's connect the dots, starting with dot number one. Cameron Clark, CPA, thank you so much for joining us here today at Money on Tap and with Brayshaw Financial Group.
Yes, thank you for having me, Seth.
You are welcome. And with that, you know what? We want to just find out a little bit more about you. First time on Money on Tap with us, and your background's unique. It's not like you graduated college and were like, you know what, I'm going to be a CPA, and away you went and started doing taxes for people. What brought you into the tax world?
Well, my first job out of college, I had a summer school teaching position, and I fell in love with teaching and pursued a career in teaching. I taught elementary school in San Francisco for 4 years, and then I moved here to Portland And I was under the impression that Portland is similar to San Francisco. The teaching environment's probably going to be similar. And at that time, there was no turnover here. Oregon teachers loved their jobs and nobody was leaving. So I came here and I met with some people who had been substituting for 5, 6, 7 years. And that was not a career path that I was looking to kind of shift into. So I made a hard shift into accounting. I'd had some friends from college who went into accounting, and what they were doing sounded really interesting. And that tax year, I just got at any job. I was looking for anything, got in the door here at the firm that I own now, working at the front desk. And I fell in love with the close relationships that we have with our clients, being part of their lives and their developments, and helping guide them through the complicated world of taxes. So I've been doing this now, 6 years. I got my CPA license a year and a half ago, and I took over the firm in the middle of last year.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Those are some huge accomplishments in a short period of time. And, hey, Ben, Dan, feel free to jump in anytime because I will just keep on running with this show if you don't say a thing. So just so you know, one of the things I really love to highlight here about what you said so far, Cameron, is just your love for your clients and the relationship that you have with them, and really valuing that part of what it is that you do. And then also the other side of that is really doing the planning work, like having not only the data to go ahead and accomplish what needs to happen this year with what you've been given, which is, kind of step one for most people that are in tax prep, right? Like, give me the numbers, input, output. So, and I think one of the things that really shows is that how much you care is that not only are you doing that, but you're taking it to that next level to have the conversation that probably most tax preparers are not willing to have, which is, what do you want? How can I really educate you about how to get where you want to go? Anyways, I'm going to take a step back from the mic. I can tell everybody else is wanting to jump in here.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you mentioned, Cameron, when we were talking kind of before the show is, really two things. It's how you see people's mistakes or mishaps when they've been doing the taxes themselves versus when they hire a professional like yourselves to kind of take over. And then as well for your clients as they come back to you, year 2, 3, 4 and beyond, how you help them get prepared for the upcoming tax season, what kind of communications you have. Maybe you could kind of touch on those experiences you've had, because I think for a lot of our listeners, that would be what's relevant here.
Got it. Yeah. So in terms of the difference between doing your taxes on your own and having a professional do them, at one level, there's the kind of peace of mind when you're doing it on your own. You're answering the questions that the program software that you're using is prompting you, and you think one thing, and it could mean something completely different in terms of tax-wise. And you could answer honestly to all the questions, and you could get one result, and then do it again, answer honestly to those same questions, and get a different result, and have no idea what's going on. So that's one scenario where working with a professional and being able to ask a person questions and get answers to them is helpful. And the other part that really triggers a lot of people coming to us is when they have those additional complications in their taxes. So if they're in investments and they want to do some future planning, they have rental properties that's a whole different schedule on their return, or they own a business, depending on that kind of filing. Those are much more complicated, and there's a lot more pieces that go into that. And then your second question, sorry.
Yeah, it's just how you mentioned that you send out kind of a preparatory letter and help give people a little kind of nudging along the way over the course of the year as to how to best get ready and how to best position themselves for a successful tax year.
Got it. So when I started out, we were definitely looking at that retrospective looking. This is what you did this year. These are the numbers. This is what we can do. And wanting to shift that forward and lining that up with the taxpayer's goals. So one of the big triggers for me was an experience with a few clients where we've been doing their taxes for a few years, and the goal that they had expressed to us was, we want to pay the least amount in taxes. We want our taxable income to be low. And then we do that for year 1, year 2, year 3. They go, hey, we're trying to buy a house now, but we're not qualified to get financing because we don't have any taxable income to show them. Why didn't you tell us this before? And those just weren't questions that were coming up. So just expanding on relationship with the clients and thinking about their future goals and how their tax return can help them reach those goals, whether it's purchasing a house in a few years, planning for retirement, doing things in the moment now that'll benefit them down the line.
Yeah, I think that's important, and that's a kind of a reminder, I think, for everybody listening to leverage your resources, whether it's your tax professional, your financial planners like ourselves, attorneys you work with, all these people who are in that world that are related to your money. That when you have that conversation, or you're considering buying a home, buying a second home, making some major life change, there's certain things that we can probably do from an advice perspective to change how you're currently allocated, or our perspective on your plans to help you position that, or help you be positioned to have a more successful outcome. The best bet is to kind of clue us in early and let us know that, hey, listen, we just had this conversation with my wife. These are our plans. These are our intentions for next year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. Are the things that we can do to be better positioned for that timing? And that, the answer to that may not always be yes, but it's a fair question to ask, and that's the kind of thing that we're here to do for you. So, once that thought's entered your head, share it. Let us help you.
Yeah, I think this is I feel like this is the old problem of the financial world, is connecting the financial planner and the CPA. It's like, and Dan, you always joke around about the idea that, we're in constant conflict, right? We're trying to plan for the next 50 years, and the CPA is being told, hey, listen, I need to plan for this year and this tax burden, and this is the situation. And so there's always these competing, goals, and really trying to balance that. And I think when you actually connect your financial planner with your CPA, whether it's Cameron or, we work with other people's CPAs as well, and we try to fulfill that need and void because people have good relationships, and that's not what this, strategic partnership's all about. It's really about just showing people that when you can work together and you can really bring that cohesive environment, someone like Cameron and I can talk, and we can sit down and say, Cameron, these are their long-term goals, and here's their short-term goals. And we can balance the tax burden in a way that kind of accomplishes the whole perspective, from everything from, what you're paying in taxes this year, and actually choosing that number strategically instead of saying haphazardly. A financial planner is like, hey, a Roth conversion sounds like a really great idea. I think that's going to be our next question for Cameron, right? And then at the same time, there's a burden to how much you want to convert, because you have to pay taxes on those conversion dollars, and you have to pay it out of your pocket. You can't use the dollars you're converting to do that with. So, Cameron, if you want to share a little bit about that conversation, which we have pretty regularly, but go ahead.
Right. So being part of that conversation with the financial planner is huge for the client, because it's not going to be a surprise when they file their taxes. What's the tax on this conversion that I do? And they can make more informed decisions, because it's shifting taxes later to taxes now. Right. So before the Roth conversion with your traditional IRA, you're going to pay taxes on that when you take money out. So you're moving that up forward to today and paying the taxes now. So looking at your tax rate now and what you think it's going to be at the time of retirement when you're taking out that money. And so kind of optimizing where that marginal rate is for the additional funds that you're converting. So if you're just at the 12% rate, and then that next rate is 22%, and you think you're going to be at 22% in the future, making sure that you're not paying more taxes than that, and discussing what that limit is, so we make sure when your financial planner makes that conversion, you're still below that threshold.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And the other thing is people get scared because they're like, hey, the 22% bracket, I don't want to go to the next bracket, but the only next bracket is 24, and a 2% deviation is not a big deal, you know. And so a lot of people lose the conversation. I've had that conversation with people repeatedly. I'm like, what's the difference between 22 and 24? I mean, honestly, do you really think that in 30 years with, 30 some odd $1 trillion in debt, you're going to be fortunate enough to be at a 24% bracket? I mean, you got to be kidding yourself. And so,
right.
So there's a real conversation around that. I think one question I think would be great for our listeners, because we have a lot of people who are pre-retiree or just retiring who listen to our show regularly and strategizing around this. Cameron, do you want to speak to the concept of, the Roth conversion just prior to retirement all the way up to the RMD conversation? Because that becomes very convoluted and so forth. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes. So you kind of have this window between when you retire and your income drops because you're on retirement income. You're not on that salary wage where you were a higher earner. And sometimes people don't even have their Social Security kicking in and different things before they reach that 72 now. And I think it's gone up for people of that age right now for the required minimum distribution. So you have a few years where you're in the driver's seat. You can make the decisions on how much you want to convert and you're going to be paying taxes on. Whereas when you hit that RMD age limit, it's required. You have to take at least this much. You don't have any options there. You get hit with penalties if you don't take that much money. So you have flexibility in those in-between years in kind of optimizing your level of conversion. So if it makes sense those first couple years to do a smaller conversion because you're still having that residual income from, like, you just retired, half of it's salary, half of it's retirement. You do a little bit to get you in that same tax bracket that you've been with, and then gradually lowering it down to get it so that your RMD is going to be lower when you do reach that retirement age.
Folks, you're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Well, guess what? It's tax time, so it's time for us to connect the dots, connecting here with Cameron Clark, CPA, spending some time just really visiting about, what's going on in the tax world, what you can be doing today, and what you need to be thinking about in the future. Just talked about the window between retirement and required minimum distributions, where you are forced to take income out of those IRAs, and how valuable it is to have Cameron taking a look at the numbers and seeing, hey, what does it look like to go ahead and start doing some Roth conversions now so you don't pay taxes later? And that's a weird thing to say. Let's pay taxes now so we don't pay taxes later. But that's really what we're talking about. Anyways, you can also take a look at us at iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts. Love the likes, the downloads, the follows, all that good stuff. We'll be right back.
Call us today at 855-226-8551 and get your free consultation with Ben Brayshaw or Seth Krussman or any one of our partners, and find out what's going on in your plan, your estate plan, your financial plan, or what you're planning at all, if nothing. Get it fixed, get it right, get it done today. Give us a call at 855-226-8551.
We appreciate you listening to Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan. You can contact us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And now, more of this week's program.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. It's tax time, so let's connect the dots, folks. Connecting here with Cameron Clark, CPA today, talking about taxes and some of the things that are really important when you're working through planning on your taxes. Cameron, so we're talking about, not just throwing all the numbers at you, at tax time and tax season and saying, what do we have? Like, what's the surprise behind door number one this year? What are some times and seasons that you would say to people, hey, this is a really good time for you to take advantage of you having time and availability, or, it's a season where some significant taxable, just things that pop up that maybe people aren't really aware of.
Right. So the best time of year for us that we reach out to clients to do those planning activities is June, July, August. We're reaching out to business owners, clients that have said something during their tax return process and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this year. Can we chat after tax season's done and you have more time to focus on this? So that's getting in and looking at a business's income for the year and adjusting to make sure their estimated tax payments match their performance this year. Or it's sitting down with the client, talking about retirement, what kind of things that they need to think about this year. And it's a great opportunity to have a sit down with the client, their other kind of support team. So their CPA, their financial planner, if they have an estate attorney, everybody getting together and making sure that we're all on the same page to meet this client's goals.
Wow. Well said. Everybody on the same team working towards who the most important person is in the room. You, the client, right? And, eliminating the possibilities of, conversations that are confusing, because a lot of the time we find as we're having conversations with people, we're introducing a concept that may not be the most readily available for them to really try to work with, or, come back to you, Cameron, and say, hey, this is what Seth said about doing some different things in my portfolio this year, or some different things in my planning. That's a hard conversation to really try to bring back. So how do we do that? How do we work for your benefit together? And I think that's what we're talking about a lot around our clients, is the strategic partnerships that we have here available for you at Brayshaw Financial Group and Money on Tap. Feel free to go to our website, BrayshawFinancialGroup.com. You'll be able to connect with us. You'll be able to connect with Cameron, and you'll be able to get us all in the room together to be able to help you structure the outcome you're looking for, right? How do you be successful in investing? This is one of the ways we do it. We just have the conversations that are necessary for you.
Getting back to the point, we were talking about, Roth conversions and how, at different times, at different intervals, it isn't just about minimizing tax exposure, but there are certain things that do create opportunities from the accounting perspective to reduce our taxes. And maybe you could speak to, and again, this is a potential offset to conversions, but, things around tax loss harvesting, gifting. What are the most common and potentially missed opportunities to reduce someone's tax exposure that you see?
Got it. So with the tax loss harvesting, that's going to be a current year on potentially the next few years benefit. So that's when you have investments that you have in your portfolio where your basis, the purchase price of those assets was higher than the current price, and you're looking to move out of those investments. You can harvest those losses, recognize as much of those losses as you can in that year. They'll offset other capital gains in that year. And then anything over and above that, you can realize $3,000 in losses in that current year, and the rest gets carried forward. So if you're in a down market and you want to get some shakeup in your investments, you can bank those losses for when you're in an up year.
And how about the gifting side of things? You find some opportunities there as well?
The gifting side is going to be more for estate planning. So the limit this year, it's $16,000 per person per donee. So if you are married filing jointly, you and your spouse can each give an individual $16,000, and then you don't need to file a gift tax return for that. But it's in conjunction with the estate tax return and the estate value at time of death. It's not going to give you any current year tax savings, but it's a way to move some money around.
And going back to the kind of capital gains conversation with the tax loss harvesting, can you just talk a little bit about, some of the complexity between short and long-term capital gains versus short and long-term capital losses, and how, what kind of work you do in that realm?
Got it. So short-term means any investment that's less than a year. Long-term is any investment that's longer than a year, and that's from purchase date to sales date. And so all the short-term investments, the losses or gains, those are going to be at your ordinary income level. That's the tax brackets. That's 12, 22, 24, 32, 35. Those ones. And then the long-term, those are at a preferred rate. Depending on your income level, it can be 0, 15, or 20%. So there's advantages to holding on to investments for longer if you're going to sell them at a gain because it's a lower tax rate. Where the harvesting comes in, if you have short-term capital gains and short-term capital losses, those will cancel each other out first. Same with long-term and long-term will cancel each other out first. And then if after that, if you have, say you have more short-term losses and then more long-term gains, the short-term losses will cover part of the long-term gains. But it's like to like first, and then they combine.
Cameron, I think one of the things, I would, as a listener, want to ask is, how do I know if I'm working with somebody who's, a planning-minded CPA? How do I, litmus test my CPA and what's happening and how I'm utilizing my CPA? Because I would say that a lot of listeners work with, H&R Block or do TurboTax, or they have their own CPA. And the truth is getting taxes filed is just a chore. It's something that just has to be done, right? It's an obligation we have. But how do I turn this into something that's profitable for me, both short-term and long-term, with a financial planner and a CPA? Like, how do I make that assessment that I'm, should I be graduating from TurboTax and going to you, Cameron? Like, how do I, as a listener, translate myself into somebody who's saying, I'm losing value in my own life and doing the taxes the way I'm doing, and even the way I'm working with my current CPA? Maybe I'm not utilizing or valuing them enough. Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think one aspect is kind of time and expertise. So if you're doing it on your own, how much time is it taking you, and how much expertise do you have in doing this activity? So if you're just a W-2 when it's very simple, there's not much flexibility there. It is what it is. But if you're getting into more complexity, it's taking you hours out of your day. Like my dad still does his own tax return, and he says he started last weekend. He's going to do it every weekend until April 15th. And he'll sit down with his stack of papers and his computer, and he'll call me and ask me like 7 questions. And it's 40 hours that he takes to do this tax return that would take me an hour, maybe. And it's just his mindset. He loves doing it. But if that's not your love, you don't want to do that. It's just a time and money multiplier to have a professional do that for you already. And then the second part of your question there about like how to test the waters if your CPA is going to be like a planning partner for you, ask them, give them some scenarios, ask them if they're able to give advice on this kind of scenario you're thinking about doing X, what's the tax implications of this purchase or this investment. Ask them if they're willing to have a conversation with your financial planner so that you can be on the same page and reach this goal of, hey, I want to purchase a house in 2 years. What do we got to do all around when moving our investments, making sure our taxes are lined up so that we can meet the requirements to buy this house in 2 years for having our down payment ready, being financeable and all of that. So like if your CPA is open to answering those questions, that's a good sign that they're going to be a planning partner for you. And if they're not, that's probably a clear indication that they're not going to be able to do those planning things and answer deeper questions when you have them.
Yeah, I was going to say, even on the W-2 scenario, we have quite a few people that work in technology that are W-2'd, and they get these fabulous benefits on the fringe, which are, you know, stock grants and you know, options to buy at discounts and all these things, you know, restricted stock units that they get over time. And had a client that, you know, went into firm ABC that Ben mentioned earlier, and had really worked out, you know, the details of how this works through in the taxes, and took it into the person and said, okay, here's my stuff, and here's this other part with the stocks, and the person said, oh, no, that's not how you do that. He just was like scratching his head. He's like, I swore I did this, and I you know, it was just kind of driving him up a wall, and he wound up actually taking that over to, you know, somebody that is a little more qualified to handle that, and found out, yes, he had been doing this correctly, and his information was correct, and that, you know, this firm that many people are trusting to take care of their taxes didn't necessarily have the correct information. So, you know, I guess it's kind of a thing that you need to be conscious of and understand that, you know, not everybody out there doing taxes is going to actually understand how to do some of these things. Even though you might think you're a W-2 and everything's simple and gravy, you might have some scenarios that you really might want to reach out to Cameron here and say, hey, I want to make sure, absolutely sure, this is how things need to go, right? And that's one of the things I just love, Cameron, about you, just being here, being able to support, answer the questions, and get down to the what's important for people. Folks, you're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And if you're listening to us via radio today, want to, again, challenge you to improve what you're doing out there, improve your knowledge. Come back to Money on Tap, get a podcast, get a couple of them, download them, listen to them, and start to raise the temperature in the room on the conversations that you're having. You know, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Push the boundaries, folks, and be a successful investor, right? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
For a number of our listeners, they have a lot of questions, and you might be one of them. Today, we're just offering what we call Zoominars, webinars over Zoom meeting rooms, where we have top experts, Social Security, estate planning, and financial planning experts for you to speak with, do a private consultation that way today. We're also having webinar-based Zoominars where we're going to have multiple groups where you can be part of that and enjoy that as well. Give us a call at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com to schedule your Zoominar.
You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And now, more Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, and you can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. It's tax time, so let's connect the dots, and we're connecting with Cameron Clark here, CPA. You can actually connect with Cameron through Brayshaw Financial Group. That's us. Go to brayshawfinancial.com or yourmoneyontap.com and find Cameron there. It's a pleasure to be able to get into the tax planning side of things with you, Cameron, as we're kind of wrapping this show up, and we're wanting to take a look at, maybe some of the specifics that you see as opportunities right now for last minute planners that are like, okay, I've 2022's done. We're definitely looking forward to doing some things different in 2023. We'll talk about some of those things too, or have been. But what are some of the right out of the gate things that you would just tell people, hey, wrap it up, do these things now, and state specific things too that we were just discussing as people are taking a look at, maybe moving their situation, where they live, where they work, and taking advantage of some different opportunities in that area.
Right. Yeah, we were just talking about different state scenarios, and previously it was a lot of like when people retire, moving to a different state that has lower income tax, so they're saving on the retirement income, keeping that funds for themselves and not paying those state taxes. For places like Washington and Nevada don't have income tax. So if you're moving from California to those states, it's an automatic like 10% savings a year. But now with kind of the remote working movement, there's opportunities for you in terms of where you're located for your job as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, looking and understanding kind of the tax situation in the states that you're interested in, that can be a huge savings just automatically.
And relative to that, I mean, how do people get taxed if they work remotely? As I've heard a little bit of debate about that. Is it where you receive your income, where your income originates from? How does that get determined?
So the way that I currently see it set up is where you're located, like where your residence is, when you're doing the work. So if you're Oregon resident, you're working remotely for Facebook, they're based out of California, that's going to be Oregon-based income because you're here. They're going to file payroll taxes as you, an employee here in Oregon.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Because, it's a debate I've heard a few times over, so it's good to get that straight.
I gotta ask the opposite though. Let's say that you are working, that you live in Oregon, but you commute up to Washington to work. How's that work out?
All right, so your company's in Washington, but you live here in Oregon.
Yep,
it's going to be the same thing. It's based on where your residence is. This is you on global income, so it's going to be taxable in Oregon. The same thing if you live in Washington but work in Oregon. Oregon's still going to tax you on that Oregon earned income because you're physically located here and you earn the income here in Oregon, but you're living in Washington. It's a little different when you have physical locations in your residence as different ones. But that comes up quite a bit here in Portland because Washington is a bridge away, and making that switch is a lot of the kind of planning strategies that we do when somebody's thinking about, hey, does it make sense for me to move myself and my business across the river into Washington? What's that going to look like? Income tax is going to be different. Sales tax is going to be different. Are we going to see a net benefit there? Or is it going to be just like I'm paying the same money, but it's through a different channel?
There's a couple seconds left here. Cameron, what are some of the last minute planning tips that you have on our kind of our wrap up that you shout out to some people? Hey, make sure you're doing this thing. Check these boxes here.
The biggest one, I think, is just making sure that you're planning ahead, keeping those records of if you have a business, how your business is doing in your investments, knowing where you are during the year in terms of realized gains and losses, and those potential realized gains and losses, or what are they, unrealized gains and losses is what they're called, and having that conversation with the people on your team, your financial advisor, your CPA, your partner, your family, like whoever's around you, having those conversations so that you're prepared ahead of time and not hit with, oh, I could have done this, but now I'm stuck with this huge tax bill, or I really wanted to buy that house, but I don't qualify. I could have been doing these things. So making sure that you're planning ahead so you can take action when you have the opportunity to take that action.
Powerful. That's a really powerful way to put that. And thank you so much, Cameron Clark, CPA, joining us here today on Money on Tap. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure being on.
Awesome. Well, hey, folks, that's going to do it for us on Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Be successful in your investing, folks. We look forward to seeing you here next week.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.
Well, bye.